This meeting is being recorded.
Got it. Good morning and welcome to the Caregiver Teleconnection. My name is Glenda Rogers and I'm going to be your facilitator for today's call. Today we have Lucy Barylak with us, and this is the second in her series on safe use of medication. And so I hope that you were with us on our previous session, but if not, it's fine. You will have some good information that you can take away. So before Lucy gets started, let me tell you a little bit about her in case you don't know about Lucy. Lucy Barylak has a master's degree in social work from McGill University. She is presently working as a consultant for a health network in Montreal, Canada. She's been involved in various research projects and has published numerous articles related to caregiving issues. She has lectured at several universities and colleges on innovative approaches to caregiving and presents annually at international and national conferences. Lucy is also a consultant for private industry in the United States, including her work with the WellMed Charitable Foundation and clinics in Texas. She would also like you to know that she was a caregiver for her mother for about 10 years. Lucy, welcome to the call today.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I can hear everyone. So good morning, everyone. Thanks, Glenda and Minerva. And yes, as Glenda said, if you have not participated in our last session, you will have a chance to listen to it. So before we go any further, I just want to show you the guide again. Okay, here we go. It's really quite an amazing guide, and it's a free guide for everyone who participates, and we have your email address. Now, it's not only a guide, but it's also a kind of a journal, because there's many questions that you may ask and they can give you the answers. But at the same time, the guide also gives you the opportunity to record things that are going on so that when you do go to the doctor or when you do call the doctor or the pharmacist, you have everything right on hand so that you can actually say, this is what's been going on with myself or with my loved one. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to do today, just a very quick, I'm going to talk very quickly about medication and side effects, just a reminder, or for those who weren't here. I'll also be talking about how to store medications and the risks of falls for seniors. That's a really big one. Pharmacists are your best friends. I totally believe in that. What you need to know before discharge from hospital. And we'll look at examples in the guide, so it'll give you a better understanding of what the guide is all about. So before we go any further, are there any questions for me?
Once again, if you phoned in, you can press *6 on your telephone and that will unmute your phone and I can call on you, or just unmute your mic or put something in the chat box if you're on Zoom with us.
All right. Oh, somebody's there. Hi, good morning. Just to
clarify, let me read that for you so the person that's on the telephone can see this. Hi, good morning. Just to clarify, I am the one on your phone. Oh, but I'm on Zoom as well. I see. It makes it easier for me to listen. Oh, thank you very much, Maria. Thank you so much for that. We're glad you're with us.
Great. Okay. So the way it's going to work today, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions because it's the final session. So I will be asking if you have questions. Now, I'm going to leave a lot of time at the end after I sort of present what I have so that we can kind of chat and talk a little bit more about that. All right, so next slide, please. So very quickly, what are medications? As we know, it could be prescription drugs, over-the-counter medications, natural products or herbal medications, and vitamins. And I've noticed lately that when I go to the pharmacist, for the first time, they're actually asking me, and do you take any supplements or vitamins? And that's really important. And medicine can come in the form of tablets, capsules, pills, liquids, puffers, inhalers, creams, patches, drops, needles, suppositories, and ointments. Now, what I do want to emphasize again before buying any over-the-counter medications, vitamins, natural products, please speak with the pharmacist. Some of these products can have an adverse reaction to your prescription medication. For example, some cold medications that, can actually increase your blood pressure if you're taking medications for blood pressure. But as I found out for myself, there are cold medications that you can use even if you are on high blood pressure medication. And this is something you certainly should be speaking to your pharmacist about. Next slide, please. All right, so very quickly, and let's go over this again. So side effects are adverse reaction to drugs that can be a symptom that develops due to taking medications. For example, a person can be dizzy, can cause falling, mental confusion, dehydration, sleeping too much, not sleeping enough, diarrhea, constipation, rapid heartbeat, sweating, becoming more confused, pain that was not there before. So some side effects can go away and some are expected, and others are found from, can only find it when a medical lab test. If you think someone is having a bad reaction, call the pharmacist, and if it's really, really bad, you really should go to the hospital. So this is kind of what I'm going over from what we did last week. So I'd like to know, are there any questions at this point, what I've been saying? All right, I see something there. Oh, no, ma'am. You're extremely.
Thank you, Maria.
Oh, my goodness, you're so polite. Thank you for that. All right, now before we go to the next slide, just hold on for a minute. I'd like to ask a question, and I hope somebody will answer me. Do you know where we should be storing our medication? I'm throwing it out to the audience.
So you can write your answer in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and we'll have the conversation.
So where do you think we should be storing our medication? And you know what? It sounds kind of like, wow, what's the big deal? It is a big deal, and I'll tell you more about it.
Leonard says in cool, dry places. Maria, in a room temperature setting, dry and away from children. They've got it.
You get A. All right, so let's go to the next slide and just go over it a little bit more in detail. So do not store medicine in the bathroom or kitchen because they can be affected by the dampness and the heat. So we're always wondering, why the heck do we have a medicine cabinet? It's not for medication. Do not store in any place that is too warm, like near a stove, heater, or in the sun. The best place to store medicine is in a cool, dark, dry, and secure place, such as a bedroom. Note that some medication has to be kept in the refrigerator, obviously. Try to minimize the number of times the bottles or vials are open to reduce exposure to moisture. Weekly pill reminder boxes can help. I'm sure a lot of you have that. Try to keep all medication together for convenience and keep medicine away from children and pets. So I thank you very much for that. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is really a very important topic that I want to focus on today. So let's talk about drugs and the risks of falls for seniors. There was a study done in March of 2021 by the University of Buffalo. They found that 94% of older adults prescribed drugs that raise risks of falling. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what those drugs are. The study found that the percentage of adults 65 and older who were prescribed a fall risk increased drug climbed to 94% in 2017, a significant leap from 57% in 1999. The research also showed that the rate of death caused by falls in older adults more than doubled during the same period. Even minor falls may be dangerous to older adults. Falls that are not fatal can still result in injuries such as hip fractures and head traumas that may drastically lower the remaining quality of life of the person. So each year, nearly $50 billion is spent on medical costs related to fall injuries among older adults. according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So because seniors take more medication than the younger population, believe it or not, between 28 and 40% of all medicines are prescribed for seniors. They're more at risk for side effects. So it's so important when you get a new prescription, please ask the doctor and the pharmacist if the drug has side effects of becoming dizzy, sleepy, drowsy, or forgetfulness that can escalate a potential fall. So I want to talk to you a little bit, and I'm not going to go through the list of what these medications are, but they're really everyday medications that are prescribed for things like diabetes, high blood pressure, etc. So if you can take note of this, I would appreciate that. I think it's important. So the American Geriatric Societies, and quotation, it's called the Beers criteria, lists medication that may not be safe for older people. So I can't go over the whole list, but I promise you, if you go on your internet and just type in Beers, BERS criteria, it will list all the medications for you. So this criteria can be used as a tool when you're talking with your loved one or your own doctor or pharmacist about using safe medication. So what I mean by that, yes, they will prescribe it. And yes, they will tell you that there are side effects for that. You could be dizzy, you could be forgetful, whatever the cause. However, what I want to emphasize is that they can start on a lower dosage, the same medication, but a lower dosage, so that you gradually see if there are side effects or not. And if there aren't side effects, and if you're really tolerating well and the condition seems to be stable, great. Why take a higher dose if you don't need to? Because as I was talking about last week, what happens in our system as we age, we don't eliminate as quickly as we did when we were young. So a lot of medications are still staying there. And so there's a higher risk for that. So I said an awful lot. So if I'd like to open the lines, if you have any questions about this particular topic, and so I'd be very happy to hear from you.
Pretty informal. So all you have to do is unmute your mic or put something in the chat box. I did put in that BERS criteria, so you would have that there. Okay, I think we can go forward.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. All right. So we're really moving quickly. So there is, you can always kind of, could you, yes, this is perfect. Thank you, Minerva. You went ahead of me. All right. So we did that. Okay. Now, can we go to the next one, please? The next slide. Okay, so I think it's also important to kind of look at ourselves and kind of say, are we at a high risk for falls? These are some questions that are in an actual, it's an actual risk screen that has been developed and it's been validated. So you can certainly look at. So let's have a look at that for a minute. Have you or your loved one had a slip, trip, near fall, or fall in the last 6 months? Okay, but that could just be you could trip on something, but it's always related to if you're on medications. Are you or your loved one taking a drug that causes side effects such as dizziness, difficult walking? Okay, so if you could say yes to that. Are you or your loved one taking a high dose of drug? Again, this is what I was talking about. It's always best to try and at a lower dose than a higher. Are you or your loved one over the age of 65? If yes, you may be sensitive, as we said, to drugs because it changes in the way the body absorbs, distributes, or eliminates the drug. Are you or your loved one taking more than one drug that increases the fall risk? Are you or your loved one at high risk of falling from other non-drug reasons? Is it difficult for you or your doctor to monitor for adverse drug effects? Does your loved one suffer from any form of dementia? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because people with dementia are really at a much higher risk for falls due to medications, and I'll tell you the reasons behind that. So I think it's good that if any of this, if you're saying yes to any of this, then be extremely cautious and record it. I mean, keep a list. And as I said, the guide is wonderful in the sense that it's really more like a journal as well, where you can actually record things that are happening. And if it's happening more than once, it's certainly something to look into. All right. Are there any questions at this point? Okay.
I have a question.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead, Charles.
I take quite a bit of pain medicine. It's times that they say take one every 6 hours. There's times when the 6 hours is too long. What's the provocation if you move to 5 hours or 4 hours? Are you taking a chance of overdosing?
That's a very good question, and a very important question to ask. What I can tell you, as I said in the beginning of my first session, I'm not a nurse or a doctor. It's just.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's perfectly fine. That's an amazing question and an important question. Even just the fact that you asked that question, you need to call the pharmacist. Do you have a pharmacist that you can speak to?
Oh, yes,
Okay, because that is important. You know, we should never decide for ourselves whether we're going to take something on time. Sometimes,
just 1 second. The pharmacy I talked to, he said that's a doctor's question.
Oh,
okay. Well, there you go. So, you know, I'm going to talk about pharmacists and how helpful they can be. So I'm just sorry that, I mean, he's right in a way, because it's your doctor who has prescribed the treatment. Can you have an opportunity to talk to your doctor?
Oh, yes. My doctor did give me a little stronger medication. He said, we'll change the medication. But I don't want. What I want to do is have some relief at times when I can get by the 6 hours. Or I won't have enough knowledge if I can get temporary relief by taking going to 4 hours and then go back to 6 hours. I don't like taking this kind of medicine to begin with, but I've got the point that I have to if I'm going to get anything done.
Yeah. Yes. So the best person is to speak to your doctor. You know, in the first session, I talked about medication is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's wonderful that we have medicine now that we didn't have years ago for certain conditions that can actually prolong our lives and make life easier. At the other side of it is that each and every medication has a side effect. It's that balancing act. And I think that if you have a good relationship with your doctor and with the pharmacist, it's so important to not make those decisions on our own. So thank you so much for your question. And I hope it's been helpful.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any other before we move forward? Okay, so remember I said that does your loved one suffer from any form of dementia? I want to talk a little bit about that. You know, please keep in mind that people who suffer from any form of dementia and are taking prescription medication or over-the-counter medication are at a higher level of risk of falling. And let me tell you why. So let's just go over quickly. I'm sure you know what dementia is. But, you know, we know that it's a chronic or progressive nature in which there is deterioration in cognitive functioning, the ability to process thought, affects memory, thinking, orientation, comprehension, calculation, learning capacity, language, and judgment. That's a big one. Consciousness is not affected, obviously. The impairment is cognitive function is commonly accompanied occasionally proceeds by deterioration in emotional control, social behavior, and motivation. So if they are displaying any signs of having side effects like dizziness, the changes are, the chances are that they don't have the cognitive ability to use good judgment in navigating in the home or outside as well. The medication side effects could have also increased their confusion and their behavior. So for example, if they're trying to get out of a chair and they're feeling dizzy, they may not have the judgment to realize, you know what, I better not get out of the chair myself. Maybe I should call my family member or my friend. No, they'll just get up. And that's what puts these people at risk for falls. So it's not that it's because they have cognitive problems that they fall. It's because they don't have the ability or the good judgment to make decisions. Or if they're walking in the, all of a sudden they're sort of really feeling dizzy, they may not think of hanging on to a chair or whatever. They'll just continue walking, and that's what will happen. So I'd like to open this up for questioning. If anybody experienced that with the person you're taking care of, or if you're a healthcare provider.
Anyone have a question or a comment? Want to join the conversation? We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, is dementia, could it be chronic? Can it come and go? People maybe have a good day or two, or is a condition that you think they're having a good day or maybe a good week, but it's false.
If you have dementia of any form, could be Alzheimer's, it could be due to having Parkinson's or any other form of dementia, it's a progressive disease. Right now, there is some medications in the works right now, but I don't have enough information to talk about it. There are some medications that don't take it away, but can possibly slow down the progress a little bit. So if you have dementia, it is something that is not going to go away. However, you make a very good point. There are some days where people have a much better day. And for whatever reason that is, and they can seem to be doing much better, but it's kind of a false illusion. So all I could say is if you're caring for someone or you yourself have any form of dementia, and if you have good days, enjoy them. It's not an easy thing, but having a cognitive impairment does not go away. However, I do want to emphasize that if you do take certain medications, it might, as I've been saying, increase the possibility that your confusion can become worse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings on another question. And these pain medicines, do they lead to dementia?
Pain medication, you're talking about over the counter?
No, ma'am. Oxycontin,
okay.
that kind.
Pain medication does not bring on dementia. Pain medication may make you feel a little bit more dizzy or a little bit more forgetful, but it does not bring on any form of cognitive.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. However, it's a really good question because, I have a very low tolerance for any kind of pain medication. And I can take 2 Tylenols and feel like I'm flying high. So, that's true. So what I want to say is, if I didn't have the knowledge a little bit about I would think, oh my God, what's happening to me? Is it making me confused or disoriented? Thank you. Are there any? Go ahead.
I wish I had a little of that. I have to change medications at nighttime to get a good night's sleep. It gives me a stronger ones for, I take about 9 o'clock or about 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It is hard, the juggling of medications is hard. But again, I really want to talk to you about the pharmacist. And, I have to say, in my experience as being a caregiver for my mother for so many years, that's the one healthcare worker that helped me the most, I have to say. in managing her medication and just having a better understanding of what's going on. So can we go to our next slide, please? Okay, so as I said, your pharmacists are your best friend. Pharmacists play a role as part of the interdisciplinary healthcare team for older adults. Their role is crucial in improving the patient's care and life. You know, for older adults, it could be helpful to develop a relationship with a pharmacist and use the same pharmacist regularly. As pharmacists learn about the individual's unique needs and circumstances, they can help provide consistent care and help prevent drug-related problems. You know, pharmacists are often the most accessible healthcare practitioner. You go to the pharmacy, you ask, and there they are. They can give patients drug information, monitor use, and act as liaison between physician and patient. Additionally, they can provide information on interactions between drugs, other medication supplements, and what food or drinks you should avoid when taking certain medications. And it's so important, as we talked about it last time, to read all the information about how to take it and what the side effects are. Now, I know that I'm a bit repeating, but it's so important. The average adult over 65 takes between 14 and 18 different prescription medication each year. That was, you know, when I did the research, it was hard for me to really, I mean, that's huge. So you could just imagine what's happening in our bodies or people who are taking such large doses. So pharmacists can educate older adults on how those medications can help with their condition by keeping communications line open. Now, I also want to emphasize that it's so important to use one pharmacy if possible. I know that some people actually order their medications, but there's so much more value to having a pharmacist that knows you and your loved one. And not only that, that they can actually get into their computer and access all the information about what medications you or your loved ones are on. So can we go? Yeah, okay, so we're right there at that slide. Thank you, Minerva, for that. And I'm just wondering, does anybody want to ask any questions or share with others your own experience of what was going on?
You know, Lucy, you were talking about a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that orders mail order prescriptions, but they do have pharmacists there that you can call. If you look on your back of your card that talks about prescriptions, you can also talk to them. I agree. It'd be nice to go in and to the pharmacy, the CVS or Walgreens, and say, you know, hey, let's talk about this. But they don't all, well, but you know, I think that they do share information, and I think they can see the medications you're on. So I guess either one would work.
Well, thank you for that, Glenda, because here where I am back in Montreal, Canada, most people, we use our pharmacists because of our healthcare system. And so I wasn't quite sure about people who order online. So I'm glad to hear that there is pharmacists that you can definitely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know,
anybody have a question? Oh,
no,
Charles, did you have something else?
I have something else, yes.
Go
You're
ahead.
talking about pharmacists. Well, I won't say the name of the pharmacy I went to, but we had one was very caring, and he knew most of our medications by walking the door. But they changed. He moved on to a better position with the local hospital here, and the one we inherited is a little young person. It's really kind of curt. He might ask you a question, but it might be 2 words. He didn't want to go into it in depth, but he will tell me my driver's license is out of date. But but you're right about that. That's just like the old time doctors. You got the old time doctors spend a lot of time with you, and you get the new doctor. He comes in the door and out the door.
Yeah.
But but the point being is, I guess I'm an old timer, but these younger generations, they don't have the ability to recognize what the problem is, or they don't want to.
Well, you know, you're making a good point. I mean, I think that they probably do have the information, and maybe they're not so sure themselves if they're young. They might feel that they don't have all the knowledge at their fingertips. But that's why I'm saying it's so important to connect with the person, with the pharmacist, and develop a relationship.
Well, let me correct myself. You're right. I don't look see what school they go to, but you don't see the grades. But they have the knowledge, but they don't have the ability to express it in terms that one may understand, or in other words, they give a short answer and not go into any depth of it. You
Well,
have to ask your question again.
No, that's a good point you're making. Well, the thing is that I have to tell you, in our healthcare system today, whether it's in Canada or the United States, we all have to advocate for ourselves. We have to push the buttons and ask a little bit more questions. Okay, thank you for that. Next slide, please. Now, the guide talks about discharge from hospitals. I think this is important to keep in mind. So seniors who are discharged from hospitals have been found to have a very high rate of readmission through the emergency departments. This is heartbreaking finding. Seniors may present for readmission with further physical additional care. And as I spoke last week with the research that I did, most of these readmissions or going to the hospital has to do with medication. So I think it's so important that prior to being discharged from a hospital, it's important to keep in mind these things. So evaluation of the patient by a qualified professional. I think you have to insist on this. Discussion with the patient or his representative, you have to have a good ability to say what's going on, planning for homecoming or transfer to another care facility, determining whether caregiver training or other support is needed, referral to a home care agency or appropriate support organization in the community, and arranging for follow-up appointments or tests. That's really important to keep that in mind before the discharge plan. You want to know when is a follow-up appointment, when is a test done. I would also add to this list, and this is right from the guide, I would call the pharmacist, even while still the person is in hospital, or yourself, to let them know that a new referral of medications is going to be submitted, and if you have it, to fax it to them. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so in the guide, there's general information. I'm giving you a kind of a bit of to look at what do they respond to. So again, when preparing to leave the hospital, make sure all of the instructions and prescriptions for any new meds or for any change your old medicine, also make sure to know which of the old medicine to stop, if any, your vitamins or natural product. Now, again, I can tell you that usually 98% of the time they will change your medication. And that's a good thing. It could be a very good thing, but it can also be something that you need to get used to. In the guide, they'll also tell you of how to prepare to go for a doctor's visit. And as it says here, to write your questions down, take all the medications. And again, the guide has a very good place to put all that, not only all your medications, but the times to take it. So it's kind of, as I said, it's kind of a bit of a journal. The same thing goes to prepare when you're talking to the pharmacist as well. So if you could go to the next slide, please. All right, so, I just want to backtrack for a bit. Before you're actually leaving the hospital, make sure to have all the instructions and the prescriptions, as I said. Now, the guide is very interesting guide because it kind of identifies any questions that you may have regarding anything to do with medications. And the way it is the way it's structured is that at one side there is questions, and on the other side there are tips and information that you can look at. So for example, any problems taking medications, it could be, for example, are the pills too large? And if you say yes, it tells you exactly what you need to do, okay? Are there problems with mind or body? For example, the person is very constipated, they're looking pale, they're losing hair, their nails appear to be more blue, because you know, our body will give us signs if something is happening. And if you say yes, then they do give you an answer to that. Any other problems with medications? What you can do, not able to read the labels, for example, they'll tell you what you need to do. Any changes in medication, let's say you forgot a dose, as I did once, and calling up the pharmacist, he told me exactly what I should do. Any changes in the person, for example, they're sleeping too much, they're not eating, they're becoming more forgetful, you will get an answer. And then again, you have the medical chart in there, and you have the questions for the doctor or the pharmacist. So I know I'm going through it, but I didn't want to repeat too much because I do have some examples. Are there any comments or any questions that you have at this time? All right. So let's go to the next slide. So this is exactly what it looks like in the guide. You're, on one side, you have the question, on the other side, you have the answer. So does the person drink beer, wine, or liquor while taking medication? You have an option to say yes, no, or I don't know for that matter. So if you say yes, make sure it's okay to have alcohol while taking this medicine. Check the instructions and label and ask your doctor or pharmacist. If it's okay, the person will have to stop drinking alcohol or drink less while on this medication. Explain that alcohol can make side effects worse or make the medication not work. So let's say, for example, if you say, I don't know. And I've had this situation happen quite a few times where the caregiver was not living with the person that they're caring for. And we're not quite sure what's happening, but I found a couple of bottles here and there. So this gives you a good indication of it. And if you say, I don't know, there's an answer for that as well. And the other thing that the guide always tells you, have you noticed anything else, any other changes? Are there any questions around drinking when you take medications?
Yes, I have one.
Sure.
Okay.
I used to drink about 4 to 5 ounces of wine every night. But every medication I pick up and look at on the label, no alcohol. Is wine that strong?
You know, that's a very, very good question that many times a lot of people are asking. I do have to say that if you speak to the pharmacist, they have to say no, no drinking. It has to be said, okay? That's a given. But your pharmacist will be able to tell you if occasionally you can have a glass of wine. So I think that's an important.
If I may, I'll ask you another question about the wine. All the reading I've read, wine, 4 or 5 ounces a day or nighttime is not that harmful to the body, and the effects of it should be better than the offset problems you may have with it.
I cannot make that decision for you. I think you really have to speak to the pharmacist and the doctor. Each person is very different. You know, you have to take into consideration not only the medication, but your age, your weight, your eating habits also play a role. You know, if someone isn't eating enough, drinking a glass of wine may affect them differently than if they're taking it on a full stomach. So all these questions need to, so it's good to put all your questions on a piece of paper, call your pharmacist and see what they have to say. Thank you for the question though. It's very, very good. All right. So let's go to the next slide, please. I do want to leave some time at the end. Okay, so another one could be, has there been any changes in medicine change lately? If yes, especially watch for any problems. So obviously it's asking you if you started a new med, has the person been in hospital? And yes, we talked about it. You could say yes, especially careful to watch for any problems or new developments. Now, what I want to say is that we know that caregiving can be very rewarding for sure. And it seems as if this guide is putting even more pressure on you and giving you more things to do. But in the reality, I found the guide extremely helpful in the sense that it kind of narrows things down for you, and it gives you an opportunity to really look at the person and have a better sense. Because, you know, sometimes doctors say, well, how long has this been going on? And you say, well, I don't know, maybe a week or two or whatever. But if you write things down and the journal, the guide gives you an opportunity to do that, you have a much better ability to be able to let the doctor or pharmacist know exactly what is happening. All right, so please, next slide, please. Okay, now, what I want to tell you is, as I said, the guide is here. And at the beginning of it, it has a whole list of all the things that are in it. So let's just go quickly through it, because a lot of what I was talking about is in there. The name of the medicine, what it does, how to take it, when to take it, how long to take it. Are there any special storage conditions? Are there possible side effects? What to do if a dose is missed? Should the medicine be taken with meals? How to tell if it's working? Are there any special containers or packaging needed? How to dispense or throw away old medicine? Please do not throw away your old medicine in the garbage or in the toilet. It's really bad for our environment. And I know if you cannot get to the best place is to bring it back to the pharmacy. And if you cannot do that right away, then just keep them aside and collect them. And at one point, please do that. And again, always ask, are there any pamphlets, other information that you want to read about anything that is going on? Glenda, maybe at this point, you can kind of let people know how they can access the guide.
Absolutely, absolutely. There will be a follow-up email that will come to you in a couple of days if you registered for the call. And in that email, there will be a place for you to enter your address. Now, if you have been on the call, the first part of this session, and have already gotten a guide, don't put your address in there. But if you have not received the guide already, please put your mailing address in there so that we can get a copy of the guide out to you. So watch for that email in a couple of days. If you did not register for the call today and you've been with us before and you just know how to log in, and that does happen, and that's fine, you can call our customer service representative and give her information, and she will be able to send the guide out to you. So one more time, that toll-free number is 866-390-6491, and that's our customer service number. So one way or the other, you do have access to the guide, but if you already have it, please don't fill in that information when you get that email address.
Thank you for that. Anybody participating today, have you received the guide?
Well, that's a good question, Lucy.
Yeah.
Has anyone out there received the guide already? You were on the first session and requested it, and you've already received it.
Oh, good. Okay, wonderful. Yes, I have. Okay. You know, if there's any healthcare workers, I know one of them has asked. No, I have not yet. Okay.
Okay.
If you need more guides, if you are a healthcare worker, we'd be more than happy to provide that. And if you need to speak to me, I'd be more than happy to give my email. And so we can talk about it. All right. I mean, I've kind of left it open. I thought maybe if there are questions or any comments that people want to make, otherwise we can go to the references. These are just some of the references, the next slide, that I've been working on, but I worked on a lot more than that, just to give us a really good comprehension of what's going on. So if there are any questions or if you anything that you would like to share, now's the time.
Okay, so Dorsey's going to get with you about getting more. Are these references listed in the guide, Lucy?
No, the only references that are listed, I mean, we can share all the slides, obviously. The only
Right.
reference in the guide that were listed, I have to say, is the SOS, Caregiver SOS by Wellmed Charitable Foundation, the 1-866-390-6491.
Yeah.
I
I think it's nice. Well, I guess people could request these references if we have a professional that would like more information on each of these topics. So after you get that email, you can also request the reference page. One thing I wanted to ask Lucy, and I thought about it when you were talking about falls, and I want people to know and give a plug, I guess, that there are fall prevention programs out there, not necessarily related to medication specifically, but I have taken one and I think they're just a wonderful resource for people to go maybe to their local area agency on aging or their SOS center if you're here in Texas or Florida, and access those fall prevention programs. They're very helpful.
100%, Glenda. Thank you for saying that. And I have to tell you, on a personal level, I've taken instructions about doing exercises on my own. And one of them, try to balance on one foot for about 30 seconds and see if that works for you without hanging on. Let me tell you, when I first started it quite a while ago, like a year ago, I had a bit of a problem. And so from one foot to the other, it's really one of the things here. I live in a very cold country for very many months. Try putting on your boots one at a time without sitting down. So I had started noticing that a few years ago and said, oh, I got to do something about it. Fall prevention programs are amazing. And I think anybody, any senior should be taking it, especially if you look at, try standing, as I said, on one foot for 30 seconds with the other one lifted up. And if you cannot do it, you need to go and take one of these courses.
That's right. And it's funny though, that came to mind. The one I took was called A Matter of Balance, which reiterates what you were saying, Lucy. Yeah, it is all about balance.
It is.
And,
it's about balance completely. And it's so important to keep our balance and to be able to make sure, because our balance will also predict whether, if we kind of step off the sidewalk a little bit too quickly, and if your balance is okay, you're going to align yourself. And if it's not, you're going to fall.
Yeah, it's so true. And I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law last night. It's like you're standing up 1 second and the next second you're on the ground. You don't even know what happened.
100%. Okay, so we have a few minutes. I know, Glenda, you have things that you want to wrap up, but if somebody else has any questions, and for those who said they'll be contacting me by email, I'll be very happy to receive that email.
And I just put A Matter of Balance in there. And like I say, there are several fall prevention programs out there, but A Matter of Balance is the one that I know of. And so I suggest that you call your area agency on aging that serves your particular area and ask them about fall prevention. Area agencies on aging are a wonderful resource for caregivers. They have various programs from respite to let's see, benefits counseling, whatever. That's my background. That's where I came from. So I'm most familiar with that. So you can call 211 in your local area and ask for the number for the area agency on aging, or you can, let me get over here to my sheet. You can do the elder care locator. And if you don't know about the elder care locator and you are a caregiver or a senior, it is a wonderful resource and I encourage you to take advantage of it. I'll put the web address in there for you, but if you want to call them, they have a toll-free number at 800-677-1116. And this is a national information and referral service. So they will help you find resources in your area based on your zip code. And so they do have tons and tons of resources. And like I say, I'll put their web address up because it's kind of lengthy so that you will have access to that. Also wanted to let you know that we do have a jam-packed calendar for this month, and I hope you've seen it already. Lucy and Elliot Montgomery-Sklar have started their 4-part series on caregiving in the 21st century and what you need to know. So their first session was this week, and the next session is on Wednesday, October the 12th at 10 o'clock Central Time. And that topic is, what do caregivers and seniors need to consider to age in place? And as a senior myself, that's what I want to do, is age in place. So I encourage you to tune into that. This afternoon, we have another session, and that's at 1 o'clock Central Time with Dr. Tam Cummings, one of our regular presenters. And she's going to be talking about staging of dementia with your loved one, a really important topic there too. So those are just a few things coming up immediately, but if you didn't get the calendar, haven't accessed it, call our customer service representative or go to our website and you can find it there. Let's see. Oh, I want to encourage everybody to get their flu shot. Flu season is upon us, and it's really important this year with COVID still lingering that we all get our flu shots. My little free ad there. I'm doing that next week. That's why it's on my mind, Lucy.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to go get my booster, and I'm going to get my flu shot as well.
Absolutely, me too. And I encourage everybody to consider that this year. It's going to be a different kind of a year for us, I think, with different variants out there.
And thank you so much for for the questions that we received today from a very nice gentleman. Thanks for your question. Yes. Are there any more comments or anything? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maria. I appreciate that. You know, I always feel very strongly that even if we connect with one person or if we've helped someone to move forward in a certain area, it's so worthwhile to us. And I want to thank you, Glenda, for your input.
Well, you are welcome. I love being on with you. I'm putting in the web address for the elder care locator for you. So take advantage of that if you've not gone there before. It has tons of information for you. Well, Lucy, we do have about 5 minutes, but you know me, we've worked together long enough. I don't hold people over just to make sure we get to that next hour. So I'll ask one more. You have a question, Charles?
Yeah, I have a question. You have more time?
Yeah.
Okay. On your medications, the expiration date is usually 1 year from the date you got the medication. Is there anything else where you could look up to see what a particular medication, what the lifetime is?
Oh, the shelf life.
Shelf life. Okay. I mean, so there is an expiry date on it, right?
Right. But usually, ones I notice is usually 1 year from the day you picked it up or at the delivery date. I'm sure that at the cost of these medications nowadays, I got to wondering about it. If you put your old medicine back, what's the capability of taking the medicine beyond the expiration date?
You know, that's an excellent question because this is my own personal belief. Now, don't say Lucy said this, okay?
Well, that's fine. I'm asking for information. I won't hold you to it.
Okay, my own feelings are from the research that I've done, keeping in mind that I'm not a doctor or pharmacist, is that the shelf life is probably longer than we think. Now, I know a lot of people have issues with buying medication, that it is expensive. So I'm going back again to the pharmacist. I really truly, I had the same questions for my mother's medication one time. And I called the pharmacist and he said, you know, Lucy, you can feel rest assured that you can at least use it for the next month. And so that's the person to go to. Now, again,
hang on that, please. I have asked that question, and the standard answer, I've asked it maybe 2 or 3 pharmacists and other people related to have that knowledge. And the standard answer is, if it's on the label, that's it.
You know why? I'll tell you why. And
I know why, but but certain medicine probably would lose part of the strength. I understand some antibiotics fall in that area, but
Yeah.
other medicines. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And it's not only that, nobody wants to be liable,
Mm.
if it
Oh,
says in the
yeah,
label.
right.
And so even if they would feel that it is, but I really believe in my heart that you really need to acknowledge if it's an expired, then it's expired. But maybe, Glenda, if we do have a minute, because sometimes people, as I said in my last session, will use expired medication because of financially. Now, I know I asked you this question before, and maybe you would, if you cannot afford your medications, there are some resources to ask questions about where you could be supported in getting that medication.
Oh, that's true, but I've checked into a couple of them, and then you got to be really destitute to get some help. And I thought my retirement years I wouldn't have this problem. To be honest with you, it's but it's just like I've already been told. Give notice on my new hospitalization. For instance, like my hospitalization, if I go in a hospital, I have to pay for the first 3 days. Well, they're going to 7 days in the next term, if which comes in January. It just every time you get a piece of paper or some kind of notice, everything's going up. And I realize that they got to recover the money from the inflation, but it looks like to me they're recovering a little more money than what they should try to recover.
It's a very difficult time for all of us, and I really appreciate what you're saying. And I just
Well, that's nice of you. I'm sorry about that.
it's
No.
No. Everything that you said makes sense. Every question you ask is relevant for other people as well. And I really thank you. But I'm wondering, Glenda, if maybe there are some resources that people can call just to get information.
Well, one thing that I mentioned a moment ago, talking about benefits counselors that are housed within the area agencies on aging. This is part of their area of expertise, is how to get financial assistance for individuals who need help with medications, et cetera. And so I would once again encourage you to get in touch with your area agency on aging that serves you. They're located in every state and reach every county. Not that they may be real close, but you can always talk to them on the phone. Talk to the benefits counselor. See if there's some medication assistance programs out there that can help you. And yes, Charles, it does take persistence. I agree with you 100%. That's what Lucy said. We need to be our own advocates. And if we're caring for somebody else, we need to be an advocate for them. And so contact your area agency on aging and ask them what kind of programs they know of. Some of them, depending on what time of year it is, may even have dollars that they can put towards that for individuals. I know we did back in my time at the area agency on aging. So that
Well, that's well and true, but I hate to step in front of somebody who may need it worse than I do. But to answer your question, I've got two very nice ladies that I talk to at our agency. They have been very helpful.
Great.
In fact, that's why I'm here today. I didn't know about y'all, but they told me about it.
Great.
Wonderful, Charles. Thank you. Well, now we had time, and now we've gone overtime. So that's the way that happens. Excuse me. So thank you so much for being with us today, everybody. Charles, thanks for all your questions. We really appreciate it. And we hope to hear you or see you on next sessions. Go to that calendar. We have a lot of things going on, and we have a lot of podcasts that are up there on our website. So we'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much for joining us today. Lucy, thank you for your presentation. A lot of good information.
Glad. Take care, everybody, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.